What really happens when a man becomes truly unreachable? Not the kind of silence where you're still watching her stories. Not the kind where you're secretly waiting for her to reach out. No. This is when your energy disconnects. When you go dead silent, not out of anger, but out of complete emotional detachment. When you don't need closure, don't need answers, and you're not hoping she wakes up, because you've already left the room mentally, and now she's stuck in it alone. This is what she never expected. She was prepared for you to pull back, maybe even to ignore her, but she always thought she still had a hold on you. She thought your silence was temporary, a punishment, a game. But now she feels something far worse. Your absence. No texts, no reactions, no energy left behind. You're not in her orbit anymore, and for the first time she realizes you're unreachable. Not because you blocked her, not because you're angry, but because you've evolved past the emotional version of yourself that needed her validation. And that's when the obsession kicks in, because obsession isn't triggered by conflict. It's triggered by uncertainty, by silence she can't solve, by energy she can't access. She's not spiraling because you hurt her. She's spiraling because the one man who always cared suddenly doesn't. You're not ignoring her. You've outgrown her, and she feels it in every second of your silence. If you've ever reached that level of detachment, where peace replaces pain and silence becomes your response, hit that like button. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and comment below. I'm not ignoring her. I've outgrown her. Now let's begin. Number 1. You didn't block her. You disappeared from her world. She still has your number, still follows you, still knows where to find you, but none of it matters, because even if she messaged you right now, you wouldn't respond. Not because you're trying to prove a point, not because you're holding on to resentment, but because you've moved into a place she no longer has access to. You didn't block her on a phone, you blocked her from your reality. And that's what makes it powerful. Blocking her would have sent a signal. It would have let her know she still has an effect on you, that her words or actions still matter. But disappearing, that's the move that confuses her. You didn't announce anything. You didn't slam the door. You just stopped being reachable. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you exited her world, and she has no idea how or when it even happened. That absence isn't loud, it's hollow. It's felt in the silence after she posts something and notices you didn't watch. It's in the unread messages she didn't send because she knows they'll never be answered. It's in the way she checks your page and sees no signs of hurt, no breadcrumbs, no cracks in the armor. She used to be able to pull you back with a smile, a memory, a text. But now, there's nothing to pull, no string left to tug on, and that kind of absence, it doesn't just hurt her, it haunts her. Because she's not just missing you, she's realizing she never really knew the version of you who had the strength to walk away without making a sound. You didn't block her to get a reaction. You disappeared because there's nothing left to say and nothing left for her to hold on to. Number 2, you stopped caring. She started craving. She never thought you'd stop caring. You were the consistent one, the solid one, the man who showed up even when she pushed you away. You fought for her when she gave you distance. You stayed loyal when she was inconsistent. So she believed, on some level, that no matter how she acted, you'd always be there, caring, waiting, hoping, until you weren't. And the moment she felt that shift, the moment she sensed your energy was no longer wrapped around her, that's when the craving began. Not love, craving. Because what she dismissed as too much is now completely gone. What she once found annoying, needy, predictable, is now the very thing she can't stop thinking about. She doesn't miss you because you were perfect. She misses you because you don't care anymore. That's what she can't handle. Your indifference isn't apathy. It's the result of you finally choosing yourself. You didn't go cold to punish her. You went cold because her behavior no longer holds any emotional weight. Now every moment of your silence digs deeper. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're not playing at all. You're not reacting. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're not validating her chaos. And that absence of reaction, that stillness, that's power. She's craving a version of you she can no longer reach, a connection she didn't protect, and a man who no longer gives her the emotional leverage she once fed off of. You stopped caring. She started chasing. That's the reversal. That's the collapse. That's the beginning of her obsession. Number 3. When she can't predict you, she can't control you. She used to know exactly how you'd respond. If she pulled back, you'd lean in. If she posted something cryptic, you'd watch it. If she gave you silence, you'd break it. You were predictable, emotionally available on demand. That predictability gave her a sense of power. It made her feel like she could push you, test you, even ignore you, and still keep you close. But then something changed. You stopped reacting. You stopped showing up in the ways she counted on. You didn't respond to her distance. You didn't take the bait. You became calm, unreadable, unmoved. And that's when the panic hit. Because when a man becomes unpredictable, he becomes unmanageable. You stripped her of her script. You killed the formula. Now she doesn't know what to expect. And that chaos she once handed to you, it's crashing back on her. Because people don't panic when you argue. They panic when you go quiet and stay neutral. When you become emotionally flat. When you look at the same game and refuse to play. She can't manipulate what she can't read. And now that you're not giving her anything, no attention, no feedback, no emotional spikes, she's spinning in the dark. You're not hot or cold. You're just absent. That kind of stability isn't safe for her. It's terrifying, because it means she no longer has control. And control was never about love. It was about certainty, predictability, power. Now that she's lost all three, she's not just confused. She's obsessed because she doesn't know who you are anymore. Number 4, no contact isn't silence. It's absence. Most people think no contact is just about not texting, not calling, not reaching out. But that's surface level. That's the watered-down version. Real. No contact isn't about going quiet. It's about vanishing energetically. It's not just what you don't say, it's what you don't feel anymore. You didn't just stop communicating, you stopped existing in her emotional universe. And that's the difference. Silence can be bait. Silence still holds tension. Silence says, I'm not speaking, but I'm still waiting. But absence? Absence is void. It's peace. It's a clean cut with no string attached. When she looks for signs of your energy, there's nothing. No warmth, no curiosity, no subtle presence lingering behind her posts. You didn't pause. You left. And that's what haunts her. Because now she's alone with a ghost that doesn't respond. A silence that doesn't shake. A man she can't provoke, decode, or reach. She still has the ability to type your name, but what good is a message when the soul behind the screen is no longer invested? No contact isn't a power move, it's a power reclaim. You took your emotional currency off the table, and now that she's bankrupt of your attention, your validation, your energy, she feels the loss in waves, not because you're being cold, but because you've become untouchable. You didn't just stop talking to her, you removed her from your emotional gravity, and now she's floating in her own regret. Number 5. You became scarce, and scarcity creates obsession. When you were always there, she didn't have to value you. She didn't have to think twice about your presence. You showed up, you checked in, you stayed consistent, you gave her emotional access like it cost nothing. And because it was always available, she treated it like it had no value. But then you pulled back. You stopped showing up. Not out of spite, not out of bitterness, but because you finally understood the truth. What's always accessible is never appreciated. Now, you're scarce. Your energy is rare. Your presence is expensive. And that shift alone is enough to drive her into obsession. Because what's scarce becomes desirable. Not because it changed, but because it's no longer available on demand. She didn't realize how much she fed off your presence until it was gone. She thought she had time, thought she could test you, ignore you, disrespect the connection because you'd always be there. But now, she can't even feel you anymore. You're not cold. You're just gone. And that space you once filled, it's louder than ever. That's what scarcity does. It forces value. It forces reflection. It makes people chase what they once neglected. And that's where she's at, chasing your silence, chasing your distance, chasing the emotional security she used to roll her eyes at. You didn't become scarce to make her want you. You became scarce because you finally realized your energy is not free. Number 6. She can't replace a presence she took for granted. She thought she could move on easily, find someone new, swipe, flirt, rebound, replace. She thought there'd be another version of you around the corner, another man who would show up, care deeply, and center her world the way you did. But now, with you gone, she's learning the hard way. Presence like yours doesn't come twice. Because you weren't just around, you were locked in. You brought a calm, grounded energy, a masculine stillness. You listened when she vented, stayed when she pushed, and gave when she withheld. And she mistook all of that for weakness, for simplicity, for something easy to duplicate. But now that you've detached, she realizes how rare that presence really was. She scrolls through names, dates other men, but it's not the same. They talk, but they don't feel. They give attention, but not depth. They react, but they don't anchor. None of them carry the weight you did. And now she's haunted by the fact that the one presence she ignored was the one thing she actually needed. The worst part for her, you're not watching, you're not waiting, you're not playing backup in her emotional rotation. You've elevated, and she's stuck comparing every new connection to a man who no longer exists in her world. She can chase noise, she can chase novelty, but presence? Your presence? That was once in a lifetime, and now it's gone for good. Number 7. Detachment is what she never expected. She was ready for your silence. She knew how to handle that. Maybe you wouldn't text back right away. Maybe you'd pull away for a few days. She's seen that before, because it always ended the same. You came back. Eventually, you always cared enough to respond, explain, or check in. But this time, nothing. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're done feeling anything at all. This time, you're not silent, you're detached. That's what she didn't prepare for. She thought she could time your withdrawal, thought she could reverse it with a breadcrumb or a little attention, but she didn't expect you to reach the point where her opinion no longer mattered. She didn't expect you to be at peace without her, to be unreachable not just in conversation, but in emotion. Detachment is terrifying to someone who's used to being chased. Because detachment is stable, it doesn't flinch, it doesn't hope, it doesn't care. And when she realizes that nothing she says or does can bring the old version of you back, it shatters the illusion of control she built the entire relationship on. This isn't indifference, this is evolution. A man who's detached isn't cold-hearted, he's self-respecting. You've finally taken your emotions out of her hands and put them where they belong, back under your own control. She expected you to pause. You hit exit, and that's what she'll never recover from. Number 8. The more you heal, the more she hurts. She thought time would make you miss her, that your silence meant suffering, that eventually you'd break, reach out, show weakness. But the exact opposite happened. You didn't stay stuck. You leveled up, quietly, internally, without her. And now, every step you take forward is a reminder of everything she lost. You started focusing on yourself, your health, your goals, your mindset. You stopped bleeding for someone who kept wounding you and started rebuilding the man underneath the pain. Not just surviving, but thriving. And that healing. It's what's cutting her deeper than any argument ever could, because the version of you that tolerated disrespect no longer exists. The version of you that used to wait by the phone, watch her page, overthink her words. He's dead, replaced by a man who knows his value, protects his peace, and no longer gives his emotional energy to someone who couldn't hold it with care. Now she watches from a distance, pretends not to, but she sees it. The glow-up, the shift, the silence that's not cold, but calm, and that peace. It exposes her chaos. The more you center yourself, the more off-balance she feels. Not because you hurt her, but because you stopped needing her entirely. You're healing. She's unraveling. Because for the first time, you chose you. Number 9. She replays everything. You feel nothing. She's in her head now, rewinding every moment, every conversation, every message she left unread, every time you showed up and she shrugged it off. It all replays in her mind like a movie she didn't know would be the last. And now, she's watching it frame by frame, hoping to find the point where it all slipped away. But you don't feel a thing. Not because you're bitter, not because you're numb, but because you've detached so deeply that the emotions tied to her story no longer live in you. You've processed the pain. You've let go of the hope. You don't relive it. You don't crave closure. You've moved forward while she's stuck in rewind. That's what no contact really does. It severs the emotional cord. And while she's tangled in the past, asking herself questions she'll never get answers to, you're not even thinking about her. You're not triggered. You're not haunted. You're free. Because detachment isn't about pretending. It's about no longer feeling the weight of what you already walked away from. She replays everything because she still wants meaning. You feel nothing because you've already found it in your own peace. Number 10. Being unreachable is the final move. There's no louder statement than a man who disappears without drama. No anger, no closure, just a quiet exit so complete it leaves nothing behind. Not a signal, not a hint, not even hope. That's what it means to be unreachable. And once you reach that level of control, there's no going back. You didn't go ghost to teach her a lesson. You didn't withdraw to play chess. You just decided she no longer gets access to the version of you she took for granted. And that version, the one who showed up no matter what, the one who cared deeply, loved hard, stayed loyal through the chaos, he's gone. Being unreachable isn't a tactic. It's the result of finally understanding your worth. It means no more explaining your silence, no more responding to breadcrumbs, no more emotional discounts. You've closed the door, not with anger, but with resolve. Now she's spiraling, not because you're gone, but because she knows there's no doorway left to come back through. She can't manipulate silence. She can't decode absence. She can't play games with a man who isn't in the arena anymore. This is the final move, because it leaves her with nothing to push against, nothing to test, nothing to hold on to. You didn't just fall off her radar. You removed yourself from the map. You're not in hiding. You're free. And now your silence echoes louder than anything you ever said. You didn't disappear to hurt her. You didn't fall silent to get attention. You became unreachable because you finally realized she didn't deserve access to your soul. This wasn't a reaction. It was a decision. You didn't block her. You outgrew her. You didn't ghost her. You removed her energy from your life completely. Now she's spinning, replaying, craving. And you're not looking back. Because being unreachable isn't about proving anything. It's about becoming a man who protects his peace so fiercely no one can interrupt it, not even someone you once cared for deeply. She thought your silence was temporary, that you'd be back like always. But this time, you didn't pause. You closed the chapter, and the second she felt that, really felt it, she broke. So if you've reclaimed your time, your energy, your peace, if you've reached that level where her access has been cut not out of hate, but out of growth, then you already know. This isn't the cold shoulder. This is emotional freedom. Hit that like button, subscribe for more Stoic mastery, and comment below. I'm not ignoring her. I've outgrown her.